How cruel is it to kill someone with a cockroach? This man used his hand to prop the woman's mouth open to more than 18 centimeters, pushed directly into the mouth. Then inside a small red cloth bag he takes a big meat that cockroach eats and puts it in the tube. The cockroach slid down the tube. The man could not help but close his mouth, for fear that the next one would be such a turn. The man pulled out the tube in the woman's mouth, and when her mouth have cockroaches in her throat and went, and the woman lay on the ground and vomited, but there was no effect. In order to relieve the woman's pain, the man used a knife to stab her stomach and then turn the knife 360 degrees and then pulled along the body to the chest. After pulling up the knife, he put his hand next to the wound and directly ripped out the woman's heart. The woman spat out blood and did not breathe. If you feel that this woman died too badly, are you wrong? The woman's name Kate, and 20 years ago was a very naughty child. She shoved a giant cockroach in Mike's mouth. Ick was too scared to move, and the other kids saw it, and not only did they not come up to stop they came and covered Mike's mouth. Mike tried to break free. His face was all red, and finally the cockroach was swallowed by. He sees Mike so cowardly. Kate brought a handful of venomous spiders, all dressed up. The venomous spiders got into Mike's ears. He screamed helplessly. Mike went dead to run away, but some naughty kids soon came after him. They first nailed Mike's hand to the groove and then threw a big handful of giant worms in his face. Mike was too scared to move, but the naughty kids turned away. That's when Kate found Mike again and said she was taking him to a mystery place, and then he was taken to a scary cabin. Kate told Mike to go inside. Mike was very scared. Kate lied to him and said, "I will kiss you if you go inside." Mike believed her. As soon as he entered the room, he was covered in the mouth. The naughty kid didn't call the police, but to run around and left. Ever since, Mike was locked in a pig pen. No anchored chin mattress and a heavy chain. It turned out he was captured by perverts. John only gave him raw meat every day. Also let him work constantly. A little slower. Microphone will be subjected to a high pressure weight. Argon drenching. Become he eats a little slower. Will be a fork in the leg inside. Tonight I couldn't take it and escape. Run. Run. He stopped the road in front of him, didn't know where to go, and there is no other place to go. Then he went back to the hot since he started to strengthen his raining. He just wanted to get tall and strong. Then he can take revenge. More than 10 years passed me. Mike grew to maturity. On this day the two men entered fight, and John knocked him down. How peace set off the sick butcher was. He hung one of my legs in chains with boiling water underneath. Kept begging for mercy and begging him to stop. That's when John suddenly coughed me up quickly, untied the chain and jumped down from above. When not John unconscious, then John was hanged. It appears that she pays. Parents were looking for Mike that year, and to prevent by his parents, John set them on fire. Directly angry, Mike slowly lowered the chain. John fell into boiling water and died in a short time after. I brutally ripped off John's face and made himself a horrible mask. He has now become so because of the 4 naughty children may have decided to take revenge on them. The grown man George was playing with the children, and when he was knocked unconscious, when he woke up again, he was locked in a secret room. Inside the room was also locked for and a woman, one of whom was full, even dying. George was so surprised that he tried to get up and leave, but found that his arms were very. The reason he was caught here is still unclear to all. He tried to dig the wall, and Tom advised him that he better not do anything useless. George insists on digging out and ends up accidentally breaking his fingernail, causing him to lie on the ground screaming and in pain as digging the wall doesn't work. Then he digs the tunnel but doesn't expect to digging up a human skull. It turns out that this room really has no way out. George found the camera above the wall. He or at the camera. This scared Tom and Kate very much and advised him that he better be quiet. It didn't take long for Mike to arrive at the door, and to his strong figure George was a little scared. Ike moves Phil to the middle and gives Kate a knife and tells him to scrape a piece of flesh off Philip's body. Threw the knife to George, but George took the knife and jabbed at Mike. Mike reacts well, dodging quickly and not hitting George with one punch to punish George for his disobedience. Mike then fed Kite a cockroach. It didn't take long for George to accidentally making half go. Not a blade. He used the blade to calmly cut the rope. When Mike came back in, George cut like the blade and then quickly ran out. The door was in a hurry. George climbed into the ventilation ducts, not expecting the ventilation ducts to fall. George fell. He woke up again, not only lying in room but also a replace huge chain. Watching George wake up, I came to the room with the axe by hand, did the axe for Tom knocked George unconscious, then took out like the nails and as Tom to use the axe to nail George to the board after Tom knocked down with the axe. George instantly woke up in pain and soon went out again of pain when both his hands were, said Mike was satisfied and left the room. George is also a hard man, looked at both hands were nailed on the board. He directly endured the pain of pulling off the whole process, so Tom couldn't be to see. When George calmed down, he just wanted to analyze who might be real and why he wants to torture them like that. The dying Philip said that he had a mark of a horse on his hand. It was at this time that George remembered what the four of them had done 20 years ago. They didn't think to apologize, but the mischief caused by feeling too young to know better what happens when a large number of spider eggs are injected into a person's ear. Microphone brings a syringe full of yellow spider eggs. He told George to throw they directly indicate ears, and if he doesn't he will just take him. Kate had agreed to Mike's request. Mike broke Kate's head hair and beat it all the way, and then Mike lifted Philip and shook him and slammed him into the wall above, which mad sure Philip was dead. He went back to the room, he took off Philip's picture and drew a big X on and at the secret room George and Tom argued and even had a physical confrontation. By the time I came to the secret room, George was already lying dead on the floor. Even if he used a high-pressure water gun to George did not help. When Mike went up to check, George quickly got up and hugged Mike, and as Tom rushed to grab the water gun before Tom could act, George was not down. Tom quickly pounced on Mike's body. Kate quickly picked up the hose but was not down by Mike. After Mike subdued Tom, he asked Kate to help put a flesh-eating worm inside Tom's eyes. The worm quickly burrowed into Tom's eyeball. Mike was about to kill George when Kate suddenly started the speech. In a short time Mike instead he picked up the can of water and left. The pain in Tom's eyeball was too much to bear. With Kate's help, George gouged out his eyeballs. When he returned to the room, Mike kept smashing things and in a short time he demolished the room. The lights in the secret room flickered again. This meant at Mike was coming over again. Tom wanted to get a knife for protection and George wouldn't give it to him. During the two men struggled, George accidentally stabbed the knife into Mike's mouth. George pulled the knife off and Mike died. Then the knife was snatched by Kate again just as Kate was holding the knife to George. Mike wrapped his arms around Kate's neck from behind and the knife was snatched by Mike. This time George said, "You are a good boy. If we had known what happened to you we would not have left you at that time." Finally Mike was actually convinced by him. George slowly took the knife out of his hand. Kate suddenly bit Mike. Mike turned around and George stabbed him in the stomach with the knife again. The painful Mike turned around again and George stabbed Kate in the stomach. The knife then broke Kate's belly. Then Mike made an odd request. He asked George to kill him. T's request made George very suspicious and he was so scared that he turned and ran. The two chased and wrestled. George managed to escape from the cabin, but he did not get far from the cabin. Mike chased after him with a knife or asked George to kill him. George was not willing. Mike pressed into the groove. "And if you do not kill me now I will go to catch your daughter to live with me." Just when George was about to choke, he touched the knife on the ground, and finally Mike was lying on the ground with serious injuries. 10 years later, George's two grown daughters came to play in the forest. Suddenly Gay reappeared. This is the end of the movie. This movie tells us never bully people. Some people's patience may exceed your imagination. Revenge maybe 10 years later, maybe 20 years later.